The movie is a portrayal of intense fear and horror with a glimpse of comedy. It follows the chaos of an unknown entity in a small town where the creepy creature sneezes into the town through a meteor. It ruins the lives of thousands of people by traveling into the brain of a lovely husband called Grant. The movie opens with a sharp, moving meteor moving towards the earth and hitting the forest somewhere near the small town. Starla is a teacher and the wife of Grant, who loves her so much. Their story seems to be an impossible because Starla is young and beautiful while Grant is a bald old man. But it is true that love don't see any boundaries. They live their life happily, but one night they get into a fight. Grant leaves the house in fury and reaches a bar. He finds a colored-eyed, appealing lady named Branda there who wants to be friends with Grant. She tries to seduce him, and they move to the forest, but Grant is loyal to his wife. In the meantime, they find the part of meteor into the forest, and it turns out to be a sticky shell. Grant tries to move it with a stick, and suddenly a sharp needle pops its head out of it. The needle throbs into his chest and runs to his brain. He starts screaming and grumping in pain, which makes Branda anxious and scared. Although she tries to help, but it was impossible in the middle of night, so she waits until he wakes up. Something is strange about him because he is more aware of the surroundings now. He starts sniffing and smelling things. Also, his eyes and nose are bleeding, but he doesn't care and keeps on walking in the woods. There is something strange about him, but Starla didn't notice in the beginning. Although the worm has started affecting his daily life activities, he now walks and talks strangely. Also, he set up a pile of hay in the basement and lied to Starla about it. He asks her to stay out of the basement because he has been planning a birthday party. She is pleased to see her husband happy and caring after the fight. Although Grant is suffering from immense hunger and finds his pet dog a prey, he also buys a lot of packets of meat and stacks them into his car. Shockingly, 2 fierce tentacles rip out of his chest and increase his appetite for the meat. So he tried to grab his naked wife, but his overflowing love stops his fingers to approach her. He freaks out and leaves the house. He knocks at Branda's and tries to sneak in by throwing the seductive moves. She let him in while Santra is waiting for Grant to return home for the party. But he left her disappointed and break into Branda's house. He let her take the clothes off and then show her the tentacles. She is freaked out to see the monster coming out of his body and try to repel him as hard as possible. She struggled for her life, but Grant stabs those tentacles into his body. The process leads to an immense pain and screams, but the worm in Grant's head is controlling him. He doesn't stop until the needles-like tentacles rips her body. He is doing what the worm in his brain is asking him to do. He takes Branda in some isolated place and arranges a lot of meat for her. He is turning to a monster with swollen faces and bristles all over his body, and Starla notices his sickness. She is worried about him and asks to go to the doctor, but he lies that he has already visited and took the medicine. But Starla is suspicious, so she confirms by their family doctor. As per understood, he never visited the doctor, so she gets really upset and decides to see the locked basement. The police also visit their place in search of Grant because they think that Branda is missing because of him. But Starla knocks them off and walks to the basement to find the truth. She freaks out to see that the basement is covered in stinking smell and dead bodies of Colony's pets. She saw the filthy bodies, cut bodies of the animals, and blood all over there and ran up. Instantly, call the police to inform them about Grant's insanity. However, before she could say anything, Grant listens her and threatens her. Grant attacks her because he thinks of calling the police as a deceptive move and try to strangle her. He wants to stab the tentacles into her body as well, but she gets rid of it by a piece of furniture. Although he has turned into a complete monster and nothing can stop him now. He strangles her even more strongly, but the police arrive on time. He considers it a threat and runs away. The police officers follow him, but his strength is unmatchable. After 3 days, several other animals from the nearby farms are missing, and he has been killing them all. The police are shocked to see his way of killing the animals, so they track his moves. They conclude his next attack and reach the farmhouse in an attempt to stop further killings. The loving family of 6 consists of 3 daughters and their parents. They make fun of their elder daughter's nails. Hence, the family welcomes them with warm hearts and lets them set their traps. They all place themselves at different spots, and wait for the Grant to make the move. While waiting for the monster to show up, the police officer confesses his love to Starla, but it remains unfinished. Suddenly, a crawling, monstrous creature steps in and kills the cow with a sharp sting. He is dragging the cow for the meat, but Starla couldn't see Grant completely changed. They are shocked to see his monstrous face and try to save Starla, but she is unstoppable. Because she wants Grant to come back to her, but he is someone else now. He is just a body of Grant crawling with the control of aliens. One of the men try to stop him with a gun pointing at him, but his fast, stingy attack rips the person into two parts. This shows the terrific power abilities of the monster, and he is not easy to get rid of. This horrifies the air, and Starla screams in fear. Instead of stopping the monster from taking more lives, they are frozen in shock until they start shooting at him, but he crawls to the barren land, thinking that the time hasn't come yet to play the final move. They follow the monster and reaches a barren stable. The police officer overheard the screams from inside. The wooden door creaks, and they witness the most horrific thing of their lives. Branda is screaming in sobbing pain, but she can't stop eating. She has swollen like a giant big ball which covers the entire place. She has turned to a terrific monster and cries for help. She wants to stop eating, but she is always starving to death. Grant has been killing and stealing animals for Branda because the worm is asking him to do it. Branda asks for her son if he is safe or not, also begs for more food until her skin starts weakening and growling. The internal entities are trying move out, and they force themselves out by stretching her into several parts. Eventually, millions of active worms cover the place and aim at their mouths. They force themselves into their mouths and make them sick. The police office in Starla saves themselves by covering their mouths with their hands, while all others are being attacked by these little creepy crawling creatures. After aiming the officer's team, these worms travel to the family. Kylie is a young girl of the family who is calmly taking a bath, but she didn't know what was about to happen to her family. She saw a worm crawling into her bathtub and trying really hard to force it into her mouth. But thanks to her stabbing nails, she manages to throw it out. However, she couldn't save her family from dying and find her mother, two sisters, and father victims of these creatures. They can't stop them from going in their mouths and start jerking off their bodies. She tries to sneak out and jump off the roof, but these worms are everywhere. Although she saw how all that happened because the moment when the worm tried forcing into her mouth, she saw their origin. But she's too anxious and scared to see the actual truth. The police officer tries to help the sick mates and advise others to cover their faces. He is trying to reach the hospital for the sick, but the network issue ruined everything. The worms have done their job and the sick start waking up. They are acting strange because Starla is shocked to see that Grant is talking to him in the body of an officer. She is amused to see that her husband is back and apologizing, but the fact is unable to understand because the police officer has now turned to Grant. Surely, he is not Grant, and the monstrous worms have been obeying Grant. All those who are getting sick with them are just different bodies, but their brains have been ruled by Grant. Starls and another lady try to calm the zombies-like creatures, but they are unstoppable. Likewise, Kylie's family has woken up, but they are different now. They are not the same loving family anymore. Kylie notices their creepy voices and starts shouting at them. In no time, the whole place has turned monstrous. The worms have possessed them all, and Starla tries to console them, as Grant is somewhere alive in them. This weakens her grip, but she has to shoot them dead because it's the only way to get rid of them. The other lady has also turned a victim when one of the possessed spits on her. She starts swelling and eventually passes out. Starla shoots one of them and sees the worm popping out of his brain. Likewise, another possessed human is not Grant, but the slave of him. All these worms are too obeying Grant because he seems to be the master of them all. Kylie knows about it, so she doesn't open the gates of the car for her family. Although she tries to run away and find the police officer on the way. She cries for help, but they both seem to be trapped because the zombies are moving to them from all sides. Luckily, they find an abandoned car. Starla, on the other hand, is with another survivor and trying to escape from the monsters. They have been attacked, but her bravery astounds them all when she stabs an iron rod into his throat. The police officer also reaches there and they pick them up. surviving the poisonous puke from a millisecond. They called the police headquarters for an ambulance, but it has also been attacked by the worms. Also, Kylie informs them about the visions and reveals that the worms are controlled by one mind. They alienate entities and spread through that meteor which hits the ground. The aliens throw their poison into the earth so that they can control the species with one master mind. Grant has been their career, and his mind is also completely possessed by them. While discuss this thrilling revelation, the police officer loosed the control and crashes in a billboard. The monsters reach there and take Starla with them. Although Grant has turned completely into a monster, but he still has some love left for his wife. He can't see his wife in pain, so he commands them to take her to a safe place unharmed. She has been taken care of by cleaning the wounds, changing the clothes, and brushing the hair. The monsters didn't harm her at all, but Kylie and the police officer are in danger. They try to get some help while they also understood that maybe killing Grant can stop all this. A survivor finds himself in between the monsters who are feeding on dead animals and even human flesh. He tries to move out, but a huge strangler body attack and eventually kill him. Starla finds herself in the bedroom but locked, so she finds an escape route with a weapon. She finds her photos with her husband all over the walls, but her husband's bodies have turned into giant, sticky, monstrous ones. It is spread all over the house, and he is attracting all affected people into it. These possessed beings served themselves into his body and became a part of the sticky tentacles. Grant tries to kill Starla by his poisonous tentacles, but she enlightens the love hidden deep into his brain. He finally recognizes the voice of his beloved wife and leaves her. She confesses her love and allows him to do whatever he is doing right now. But it was all a trap, and finally gets the chance to stab the weapon into his brain. But he is not that easy to kill. He turns furious and throws her out. He feels ashamed and starts throbbing her against the walls. The police officer breaks in with a bomb, but his plan fails when he throws him out of the house twice. The bomb falls into the pool and proves to be a total waste. He tries to kill him with his sharp stabbing nails and poison his body with one of it, although he manages to get them deep into his body until he finds a gas cylinder nearby. He fills his tentacles with a gas, and it needs a trigger now. Grant feels the pain and pushes back his tentacles. Luckily, he drags the police officer back into the house. He commands Starla to shoot at him, and with teary eyes she aims at his loving husband, without caring the beg for mercy in his eyes. He is shot dead and bursts into fire. With his dead, all possessed bodies are dead too. They stumbled out of the house, saved but deeply injured. But the movie ends with a loving phrase of Starla, where she confesses her love for the police officer.